Hey everyone, welcome back to the Mitt podcast and episode number 140. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about avoiding neediness. Have you ever wanted something or someone or some specific outcome to occur so bad that you obsessed over it? You couldn't sleep a night over it. You were worrying if you were going to get that email back from that opportunity or that text from that person. Did you notice that the energy kind of stopped flowing? Everything was going good. There was momentum in the deal. There was momentum in the relationship. And then suddenly it's like everything came to a screeching halt. All of a sudden their energy shifted, a problem occurred, a delay happened. And it's like everything that you wanted, even though everything looked so perfect, just stopped. Why is this the case? Neediness repels what we want in life, and it blocks the flow of energy that makes things effortless. Have you ever noticed that when you didn't want a job, you didn't really want that specific opportunity, you didn't really think it was a good fit to be a friend or be in a relationship with this specific person, you notice how much more they wanted you, how much harder they worked for you, how much nicer and more respectful they treated you? This is a common correlation in life. And I think in some form, life is just simply a game of secretly wanting it less, or at least appearing to want it less. The person that is in the middle of a negotiation, a relationship, a conversation, that is the least interested and the most willing to walk away, always controls the deal in that relationship. And so we can start using this from day one as a competitive advantage to set ourselves up to attract what we actually desire and deserve. If we want better people in our life, we need to learn how to operate like this. We cannot be needy and expect really great people to be in our lives. We can't expect to have tons of opportunities in the industry that we work in if we're needy. Neediness shows desperation. It shows that you need it. And if you need it that bad, that means you're lacking a lot of other things, which is a red flag. Have you ever been around someone that was just simply trying too hard? They were nice. They were good people. I'm sure they meant well. Did it make you more attracted to them? Did it make you think, man, I don't know, there's something amazing about this person. I think they're going to change the world. Or did it make you kind of question every single thing that they said? Did it make you watch their words and see if they're screwing you over, if they're trying to get something from you, what their motive is? You stopped focusing on what they were saying and what they had to offer and maybe any positive traits that they had, and your focus went right to skepticism. This is what happens when we're needy. And it's easy to do for all of us. We've all wanted something where we accidentally pull out this feeling and emotion. The key is in the moment when you're walking into, let's say, an interview, you're meeting someone for the first time, you're on a date, you're talking to someone and negotiating a big contract or a pay raise. Think about the worst case scenario. Think about if everything fell apart in this deal, and think about what would happen. And if you would be okay and you would find a solution, then you have absolutely nothing to fear. The key is always find wholeness in every situation. Always think about and really realize that you have survived up into this point, which means the odds are in your favor, which means if one wrong relationship, conversation, or outcome is going to be the end all be all, then we weren't going to make it anyways. So there's absolutely no point of stressing. The second thing is realizing that a lot of the times the thing or the person or the outcome that we want most isn't actually the best scenario for us. And if we actually got what we want in that moment, it would end up hurting us more than helping us. We would have ended up becoming unhappy, or this horrible outcome would have occurred. Think about something over the last 10 years that was your dream, that you wanted more than anything, or this person that you just really liked and you were attracted to and you thought, man, they would be an amazing boyfriend or girlfriend, husband or wife. But then it didn't work out. And at the time, it felt like the world was ending. You didn't know how you were going to make it. Times were just difficult. but maybe 6 months or even a couple years passed, and you sat there and you said, you know what? Thank God I didn't end up with that person. Or thank God I didn't take that one job. That entire industry crashed. You know, I learned this a lot actually from my mom. When I was young, there was a couple different rough patches in my family's life where my dad experienced layoffs. We experienced, financial trouble. And in first grade, my mom had this really good friend whose brother worked for a telecommunication company in America called Verizon Wireless. If you're an American, you know exactly what Verizon is. And he was talking about the job, and my mom said, "Oh, okay, I can tell my husband." And he said, "No, you would be a great salesperson." Mom said, "Me? I haven't worked in 5, 6 years. I don't know if I want to work." He said, "No, I want to hire you." And it was such a difficult company to get into. My mom got in there for sales. And so I got to kind of watch as a kid. I remember being in the back seat and hearing her on sales calls and telling us to be quiet so she could focus. So we were so trained to be silent in the back of my mom's car when she was driving us to practice for sports or whatever the case may be. But what I learned from her was there was a couple different challenges for her specific sales role. And if any of you guys work in corporate, you'll likely be able to relate to this. One is that Verizon operated similar to a military where every single year they would switch teams and bosses around. Because think about it, in the military, the reason why they move it around so much is because if people are together too much, they come together as teams and they cause rebellions or coup d'etats or they go start a company. So Verizon's constantly keeping things moving. So every single year, I think she worked there for 12, 14 years, something like that. And every single year she had a new boss. So there was times that, she had this amazing boss per se, and then she was like, man, this is horrible. I'm getting this new one, and thought the new one would be bad, and then suddenly it was the best one ever. Or the next year, it would actually be a really, really bad boss. And on the surface, she would be thinking, why did this happen to me, right? And you notice that over the years, she got better and more poised at dealing with this because it just became normal. But what was interesting is every time she got a new boss, she got better and better at not only managing up, but knowing how to deal with different types of people. And she said this rule that stuck with me where she said, Grant, always find 3 things you like about someone. If you don't like someone, you don't agree with them, they have different views than you, find 3 things you can like about them. And there's always 3 things. If not, you're lying to yourself. And so she would find the good in that person, and it would actually improve their relationship. The next thing that would happen is as she moved up in sales, it wasn't like certain sales where you can just call 300 people a day. You have a bad week or a bad day, you lock in, you relax, you take a day off, and then you refocus. What would happen is every year they would get 3 or 4 clients. So let's say it's United Airlines, Shell, Cisco, and whatever the case may be, another big company. But what was difficult about this is you could be the best salesperson ever. But if those companies, let's say in oil and gas is having a horrible year, they may be laying off people and they're not buying any phone lines. So you would have to make magic out of thin air. So I remember this one time, this was like probably year 8 or 9, and I think I was almost a junior or senior in high school. And she's like, pray for me, Grant. I have this big interview. She specifically wanted to go after oil and gas accounts. And she was praying for this because the people that were selling to oil and gas at that time, that previous year, made the most money in sales for Verizon. And she went through 1 interview, 2 interviews, 3 interviews. And the feedback was that they loved her and it was amazing. And she was hoping and praying for it. Next thing you know, she gets to the final interview. They pick someone else over her. She was crushed. For 2-3 weeks. And she said, you know what? I mean, who knows? It's hopefully for the best. But what ended up happening is there was a huge, basically a micro recession in the oil and gas industry. And they started doing massive layoffs. They started firing people in those verticals. And luckily, she ended up getting a different sector of businesses and had the best year ever, got winner circle, did the best she ever did in an entire year. There's no point in obsessing or being needy over something that we don't even know if it's actually a good fit. For the example of my mom back in the day, that's probably 15 years ago, right? Everything looked like I mean, if you were predicting the future, like, she needs to be in this vertical. This would change her life. This would be amazing. But the fact that she didn't get it was the best thing that could ever happen to her. We all have experienced different scenarios like this. This is why being steady and not obsessing or not getting too low is really important, because in every single season, you never know what's actually right for you. There's this beautiful story that changed the way I think about life, and it's similar to the story I just told about my mom. And it's a Chinese proverb. It talks about a farmer that raised horses for a living. And he had a championship horse, and he was raising the horse, and suddenly, all of a sudden, that horse ran away. Everyone in the neighborhood or the town said, "Man, this is so unfortunate. You lost this championship horse. How unfortunate." He said, "Well, maybe." But next thing you know, that horse came back the next day with 4 or 5 other wild horses. He told the news to the neighbors in the town. He said, "What a turn of events. How lucky it is. If that horse would have never ran away, this amazing event would have never happened." But then his son was actually trying to break in one of the new horses and train it. And the son got bucked off the horse and broke his leg. Everyone in the town found out and said, "Man, how horrible this is. I can't believe this happened." And they said, "Man, this is so bad. I can't believe this happened to your son." The guy said, "Well, maybe." Next thing you know, the emperor's army came to the town. There was a war starting in the country, and they came to recruit all able-bodied men. When they came to recruit him, his leg was broken, so they didn't take him to war. The point of the story is that you never know if something is good or bad for you, but you have to trust that no matter what happens, it's all working in your favor. When you deep down know this, you don't lose your mind if someone cancels a date. You don't stress out, give up, stop going after your dream just because your best employee quit or because you lose your job. In fact, sometimes people that have lost their job or experienced layoff or massive loss was actually the most beautiful and perfect setup to help them build their dream company or build their dream life or meet that dream person. You never know what happens until you actually look back on everything. In fact, I would actually impose a rule that you should never leave your home in a state of lack, neediness, or uncertainty. If you got to stay home for half a day and meditate, go on a walk, do whatever you got to do, but never leave your house in a state of neediness. Don't leave arrogant. Don't be cocky. Don't act like, "I don't even need you." No, don't do that. Be kind. Be respectful. But be so centered and confident in yourself that you know that the right people will come in your life and they'll stay. And if someone leaves, wish them the best and keep it moving. That is the secret. Last is eliminate all expectations. As we're discussing earlier, you never know what's going to happen. And there's many times in the middle of deals or opportunities or when you're interviewing or you could be dating someone, or you're friends with a bunch of people, that you're not needy at all when you're starting because you don't know enough about it. Things could go wrong. You're not going to get over yourself. But then after you start going through the process, the things that you were doing to get you to that opportunity, you stopped doing. You got comfortable because it's clear the person likes you. It's clear you're the best hire for the job. It's clear the markets are looking good. It looks like this deal is going to close. All of a sudden, the flow of the natural flow of energy, the relationship, and how everything felt effortless and smooth, all of a sudden it comes to a screeching halt. Weird occurrences start occurring. Obstacles come out to play. People throw a wrench in the deal. The person was super interested, now they go cold. This is a sign that you are being needy. And it's important to realize that when the deal can go up and down, things can happen, problems can thrown out there, but if you don't care that much and you're just pushing it along and you don't get too high and you don't get too low, you'll be centered and focused to be able to make the best decision and most importantly, be the person that's dictating the terms and the outcome of the deal. And remember, who is this person? It's the person that's not needy. It's the person that's the most willing to walk away. Last thing I'll tell you is to strategically set your life up in a way where you don't need anyone or anything. Now, a lot of us maybe are starting out right now. Some of us are running multi-million-dollar businesses. Some maybe $1 billion. Find ways every single week where you can create leverage in your life. Some of us are incredible in our finances, but maybe struggle with friendships or relationships. Other people are incredible with friendships and relationships, but maybe need to work on our finance portion. We all have different things in work. Everyone does. The key is to accumulate leverage when you don't need it. Save money when you have plenty of money. When you have one or two friends, meet more friends, right? Keep your options open. Save, invest, plan for the long term. Build great relationships. For example, the mistake I see a lot of young people make is they try to do quick deals and get over people. And because they do bad business, on the short term, yes, they make a lot of quick money. And they're young, so they're making 30 or 50 grand and it feels like 500 grand a month. Another person's making 8 grand doing things the right way. But the problem is the person that's cheating people and getting over on people is building on sticks, or the person maybe that's making a little bit less but is doing everything the right way and building long-term relationships is building on stone. That person is going to continue to build and stack and build a bigger house to where long run, yeah, it might take them longer to build up that revenue, build up that network, and build up that business or whatever they do. But the thing is they keep stacking. And when the storm comes, it's going to fall on everyone. The rain and the storms and everything is going to hit everybody. The difference is the person with a stone house is going to survive. The person with a house made out of sticks that was doing things the wrong way is going to crash down. And then the only way that they're going to be able to continue to build again or even try to get back to that level is to continue doing things the short end, the short way, the wrong way. And so they never actually progress upward. And so you want to play long-term games with long people. And when you do the right things, we're all not perfect, right? You've never made perfect decisions. I've never made perfect decisions. But if you're genuinely a good person and you execute and try your hardest and truly get better every single time, and you realize, like, for example, not all good money or not all money is good money. Realize not all good money is good money. And saying no sometimes will bring more opportunities to you. I heard this story from a podcast of Matthew McConaughey's famous actor from Texas was talking about for years, in Hollywood, they brand you. So if you're an action guy, it's hard to get into love and romance, right? If you are a romantic comedy guy, it's hard to get in movies that are more serious. And for years, Matthew McConaughey was a romantic comedy guy. That's all he did. And he decided, I'm not doing that. I want to rebrand. He was getting married at the time. He's like, I don't want to keep doing these types of movies. All of a sudden, suddenly, he got this amazing offer. It was $10 million, something like that. He said, whoa. Said no. They came back with a 15 or 20 million offer. He goes, well, maybe I need to look at that again. He said all of a sudden, the lines were better. It was funnier. He was visualizing himself in it, making the movie amazing. He said no. They came back with an even bigger one. He said no. But what's interesting is after that, word kind of got around Hollywood. They said, well, McConaughey's not kidding about this. He's really trying to rebrand. He's actually willing to say no. But sometimes no is the sexiest answer. It's the most appealing answer. The fact that you're willing to tell the wrong person no, or just because someone throws some money in your face, you're not going to take it because you know it's not morally right or it's not the right fit for you. That expands your capacity to receive. It increases your leverage and the respect of the marketplace, and it makes you more desirable. It may take a couple years. It may take a full year, 6 months, whatever the case may be. But all of a sudden, what started happening is about 2 years later, he got an opportunity and then another one. And that's when he started doing Interstellar and all these big movies and ended up winning a Oscar. So always know when to walk away. Play long-term games with long-term people. Never leave the house with needy energy. And realize if you can breathe right now, you're sitting here listening to this, then that means you have a purpose in this world. And if you choose, you have the ability to do incredible things. But it starts with certainty, confidence, and the belief that you're here for a reason. And you have to be willing to say no. You have to be willing to walk away from the wrong relationships, the wrong company, and the wrong crowd. So I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. share it with a friend. And then lastly, guys, I'm doing a scaling AI workshop on Tuesday. It's free for anybody that listens to my podcast. There's a link below. Would love to see you guys there. I hope you guys have an incredible week. As always, I'm rooting for you. We'll talk to you guys soon. Much love.